All right, so in chapter 3, we're going to talk quite a bit about what is food cost and when does food become part of our food cost. Okay, so what is food cost? When you hear the word food cost, we talked about it for the last 3 weeks. What does it mean when we start talking about food costs? What does that mean? So, right.
How much it costs for the business to buy goods, like food goods?
Yeah, absolutely. How much it costs the business to buy the product that is then we're going to make all the ingredients to make the food that we're going to sell or the beverages that we sell. Okay. So food cost only becomes part of our cost when we use it. Okay. If we're not using it, it's not part of our food cost yet. Okay. So if we want to calculate what our food cost is, we are going to take the beginning inventory. Now, when we purchase product, when we purchase inventory, does that add to or take away from our inventory? We add it, right? So we add our purchases for that period. So on your notes page, you'll notice there is this kind of number 2 right here. So in the column, I have yours right here. In the column right here on the side, if you'll write this basic formula down, and then we're going to do 2 examples, one on the top and one on the bottom. Okay. So on your notes page, it'll look like this. We're going to do example 1 in just a second, and we'll do example number 2 over here. But on that column, go ahead and write this generalized formula. Okay. So beginning inventory plus our purchases, this is going to equal our total available inventory. Total available inventory. I specifically highlight that because there's a question on your final exam that talks about this that we'll talk about as we get closer to the final exam. Okay. Then, if our product is still in our inventory, does that mean that it's part of food cost or not? No, it's not. So we have to subtract that from our total available inventory and get our cost of goods sold. Okay? Cost of goods sold, or COGS. COGS. Cost of goods sold. So that is our general formula. And now we're going to implement it with 2 examples. First example, February. Our beginning inventory is $3,500. And we add $10,000 in purchases for that period. So Juan, what is our total available inventory? 500. Yep, 13,500. So our total available inventory. That means at any point during February, I had $13,500 worth of inventory, worth of product available to me to use to sell. Okay. And then my ending inventory, I'm going to subtract that to get my cost of goods sold. Cornelius, what is 13,500 minus 2,500?
Is 11,500.
11.
Oh, 11,000.
There we go. Okay. $11,000. That is our cost of goods sold. We start with $3,500 in inventory. We purchase $10,000 worth of product. I'm using product. I'm making ingredients. I'm making recipes. End of the year or end of February, I go and count, and I've got $2,500 left in my inventory, which means the cost of the goods that I actually sold was $11,000. Okay. Now, let's tie it back to whatever we've been talking about throughout the semester. This cost is this 11,000 right here. That 11,000 is the top portion of our triangle. That's how we find that number, right? So up until this point, I've just been giving you numbers at random. This is where that number comes from, that $11,000. Where does this sales number come from? If I find this cost by doing this,
The ending inventory.
where does our sales number, what is that? Where do we find how much money we sold? How much money we brought in?
Ending in-
Not our ending inventory.
The purchase for the period.
No, it's not on the screen.
Oh. okay, well, better.
11,000 by
So where do I find the number that's gonna represent these sales?
What is it, like adding,
We're gonna add up what?
is it third?
All of the receipts that we have, right? Every time we sell something, I can go to my computer and print out a report. What sales did I have for February? That's gonna give me my number, that's gonna go here. And that's how I can find my percentage to see if I'm meeting my budget or not, if I'm over my budget. You guys follow me?
The percentage of.
Remember, like, let's say our goal is 30%.
Mhm.
This is our cost. That's our actual cost. This would be our actual sales from our computer system. Divide those two numbers, and it will tell us if we are on track to make that 30% goal or not, if we're over or under. Okay?
So would it be a problem if we were to sell more, or we sold less, that's when there would be a problem, right? And that's when we wouldn't have reached our goal, or?
Well, so it depends on the percentage. At that point, we're looking at the percentage. So again, if we are aiming for a 30% food cost and our sales are 30%, our costs are 30% of our sales, then we're right on target. Okay? So now let's do another example. March 2019. Where's our beginning inventory? How do I know what that number is?
Figure it out.
Yep, how do I figure that out? From February,
So we're forecasting.
our ending inventory of 2,500 becomes our beginning inventory for March. Hopefully no product has gone missing between February 28th and March 1st. Okay. So our ending inventory for the previous period becomes the beginning inventory for the new period. Add our numbers together, 14,500 plus 25 is, or 2,005,
17,000?
17,000. That's our total available. Oops, wrong spot. That is our total available. And then we subtract our 3,500 and we get cost of goods sold 13,000. No, not that. 17, so that's 16,500. 13,500. 13,500. See how that works? Our cost of our goods sold, this is the cost of the goods that we sold, is $13,500 for March. February was 11. March is 13,500. Why might we spend more money in March than in February?
To make more sales.
Simple.
What's that? Why might we sell more? Sorry, let me try this again. Why might we use more ingredients in March than we do in February?
And then special event.
Spring break happens in March, doesn't happen in February.
You-
Potentially more people during that time period.
The luck of the Irish.
February has 28 days, March has 31, right? So just because we spent more money doesn't necessarily mean, so you can take your whole budget that we create and we can break it up by month. It doesn't mean that every single month is created equally. Sometimes some months we know we're going to earn more money, some months we're going to earn less money, okay? But ultimately, now this is cost of goods sold, okay? This takes into account, we have our beginning inventory, all of our total available. We subtract the ending inventory, what's still left in our coolers and our dry storage, and that's our cost of goods sold. Now, is there a possibility that we maybe didn't sell everything? Maybe some of our product walked out the door.
Mhm.
Maybe Mr. Uminski is planning a family barbecue and he wants to do some hamburgers, and I take a little hot package of frozen hamburgers. I would never do that. That's stealing, right? But did I get money for those hamburgers? Did I pay for those hamburgers? Yeah. So my cost again going up, sales not reflecting that. So this is cost of goods sold, but that's why we have to do our percentage. So we can make sure that our percentage is in line with what we budgeted. Okay. So we do have to transfer product. So this is one way if we want to be really particular about the cost of what we're actually producing. So this is those questions, true, false questions on the quiz. Do food items always go, food type items, ingredients, are they always considered food cost? No. Why?
Now, why? Why?
How might we, when does food become part of food cost? When we use it to make food, right?
Okay.
Do we use food to make beverages?
Yes, lemon slices.
Lemon slices as a garnish. Good. What else?
You also use additives for like drinks.
Okay.
Some lemonades. If you want strawberry lemonade, it usually comes with a strawberry.
Strawberries right there. That's a food item, but it's in the production of a beverage. Strawberry lemonade. Okay. Or smoothies. Or Bloody Marys. I mean, you can't have a Bloody Mary without olives and celery and maybe a bacon slice and maybe some other pepperoncinis and amazing other stuff, right? Okay, that's food type stuff that's in the production of a beverage. Now let's go the opposite direction.
Liquid type.
What beverage type ingredients, how can beverage type ingredients be used in the production of food? Wine can be used
The liquor.
in the sauces, liquors, yeah.
Marinade.
Cognac sauce.
Marinade.
In a marinade, good. You might use it in a glaze. You might use
Citrus fruits.
say that one more time.
Citrus. Citrus
Yeah,
fruits.
you might use citrus fruit. I mean the carrot soup that I just ate from next door had orange juice in it. Okay, but that's in the production of a food item. So if you want to be very particular and keep really impeccable records, you have to transfer all those beverage type items to our food cost and all those food type items to our beverage costs. Okay, in order to be able to give us a good picture of what our expenses are. Okay, the other transfer is units, transfer to other units. Okay, I worked at Chester's Hamburgers when I was in high school. I worked there for about a year after high school as well. And let's say one store is really busy and they look like they're going to run out of product. They call up my manager and say, hey, we've got 2 hours left. I think we're going to run out of product. How are you doing? Are you busy? Do you have enough product? I'm like, yeah, we can give you 2 boxes of meat and 4 packages of buns. Okay, great. David, get in your truck and go to the other store and take this product over there, right? I'm gonna do it because they're gonna give me free food. And so it's like, yeah, I can do that. Awesome. But that product, if that product does not transfer, if we don't transfer that dollar amount to that other store, this store over here that's getting the new product, they didn't pay for it, right? So if their sales are really high and they didn't pay for it, their costs are low, that's going to look really weird. This store over here, I paid for that product, but I'm not going to get the sales for it because I've given it away. And so that's going to look really weird. So you have to transfer from unit. So that way you can make sure that you can know which units are being profitable, which ones are not being profitable. Okay. And just transferring, that is essentially what's going to happen in order to keep that product straight. Okay. Standardized recipes. Let's talk about standardized recipes. What is a benefit or an advantage of using a standardized recipe? Well, first of all, what is a standardized recipe?
It's to ensure that
Recipe.
find the right amount of ingredients.
Okay, so make sure we have the right amount of ingredients. Yep.
A recipe that will, like, if you make it exactly as is, it will always come out the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Emily. Absolutely. It helps us with consistency. Okay. We know how much product we're going to use. The guest, how many of you have ever been to a restaurant where you're like, asking who's cooking in the back tonight? Because this person's going to make this particular item so well, this other person, maybe not so much, right? And so, but if we have that standardized recipe, then you have that ability. Now, when you are in a corporate type setting, okay, the big company, the big corporate office, they're going to make the recipe and give it to everybody. That's going to standardize it. Okay. You're an independent restaurant owner, you can be a little bit more flexible. When I was at TGI Fridays, I would make desserts, and my boss, Kristen, she was an incredible boss. She learned how to work with me, which is not an easy thing to do. But I would make desserts. And our dessert, let me show you real quick. Our dessert for, let's say, the Oreo Madness. It was a bowl, okay? We put the Oreo cookie in the middle. Actually, I'll do the brownie one. Sorry. So the brownie was a square brownie. We took caramel sauce and went like that. We took chocolate sauce, went like that. And then we put like a little couple sprinkles of, those are supposed to be almonds. Okay? Little almond slivers. That's it. Yeah, that's boring. Right? Enter David. Oh, there's a scoop of ice cream as well on there. Scoop of ice cream and then the almonds, right? Enter David, who's an aspiring culinary arts major, and I'm learning all about plating techniques. And I know what's better than TGI Fridays corporate. And I go in and I can be like, you know what? Let me change this up a little bit. Instead of this, I'm going to take my caramel and I'm going to drizzle it nice, ever so sweetly, really carefully all around the rim.
Time waster.
Wow. Not so much. Okay. And then because I learned that you don't want to put the sauce on top because that covers up what you're trying to highlight. So rather than like a big old glob of chocolate sauce, I take a fork and I just poke it really tiny hole. And then you squeeze it. What happens when you squeeze out of something like that with a really tiny hole? It gets all squiggly, right? So then I got the squiggly chocolate all over the place. And then I've got my square brownie right there with the ice cream. So it looks all beautiful, like really nice and clean and pristine. And then I just take those almonds and I crush them in my hand and I sprinkle them around the plate.
It's a lot of time.
Right?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Didn't take too much more time than the other one, but Kristen was like, whoa, that is not specifications. That is not the recipe. And I was like, I know, Kristen, but that looks boring. And how can I serve a guest dessert with it looking boring like that? Like, come on, let's be real. She's like, David, you have to make it like this because if someone orders this brownie at TGI Fridays in Omaha, Nebraska, it needs to look just like that. It's the specifications, it's the recipe. And I was like, yeah, but Kristen, I'm using half this. Okay, now you're getting an idea of what my mom has had to deal with for 42 years. Like, yeah, but I'm using half the ingredients. Instead of a full fudge packet, instead of a full caramel packet, I'm only using a half of one. So it actually costs less for me to do it this way than it is for me to do it this way. So she gave in. I won.
The cost.
And she said, okay, but you have to explain to people that you do this and it's not going to look like that. Boom, Desserts by David was created.
Enter the event planner.
And I learned about how you make yourself, and this think about this not only just from like this individual specific situation, but also how can you take this into a bigger role, right? Into a bigger picture of like your restaurant. How do you set yourself apart that people want to come to your restaurant or to your bakery in order we can get the same dessert, but I had people that would wait for 30 minutes to get into my section because they knew at the end they're going to get Desserts by David. And they didn't know what it was going to look like. Because I told them, I'm a culinary arts major. I'm learning all about plating. And so next time you come, it may not be different. I may have learned a new technique, right? And so that type of thing helped me realize about personal branding, about what you need to do to set yourself apart from other people. Okay. But the moral of the story is you got to do it this way. Okay. You got to do it this way.
Don't do what David did.
If you want to do Desserts by David, you got to go get your own shop. Okay. Because Kristen very easily could have fired me and is like, no, you got to do it this way. I learned that lesson when I was working at TJ or at Cheesecake Factory. The standard for Cheesecake Factory, if someone had a birthday, is that you would get 3 to 4 people, you go over, sing happy birthday, and that was it, right? There's one night I was missing because I thought it was more important for me to work at the Cheesecake Factory. I was missing the performance with the symphony. We were doing an Italian opera with the choir I used to sing with. And so I asked my guests, I'm like, hey, I'm missing my Italian opera performance tonight because I decided I wanted to work. Do you mind if I sing happy birthday kind of like an operatic style? And they're like, sure. So I did. I made so much money that night. I wasn't even a server. I was a food runner. I'm like, this is awesome. Right? So then a couple other people decided that they were going to sing happy birthday. One lady was a jazz musician. I heard her in a band later on, a few years later. Great voice for jazz, not for happy birthday. And then this other kid, he thought he was Whitney Houston with his little headset and his whistle tone. So I was out of town and corporate was visiting, and all of a sudden you hear a Whitney wannabe, and they're like, hold on, what's that? That's not our
That's not our
standard. And they're like, yeah, but we had this one guy, he's really good. He's out of town today. He's off. He's like, nope, that's it. So I came back from vacation. They're like, David, you can't do it anymore. I tried it once and they're like, David. I was like, done, deal, heard, got it. Let's do it basic again. Sometimes as managers, especially if you're at a corporate office, if you're at a corporate restaurant, you got to do it that way. Okay. Save your individuality for your own personal business. So that was a very long tangent that I did not talk about. So hopefully we'll get through class today. Standardized recipes. With the standardized recipes, we have those ingredients and we have specifications for what those ingredients are. Quality is things about those ingredients in the recipe. The quantity is how much we're going to purchase. Okay. Samantha, give me an ingredient that we work with in the kitchen. Any ingredient, just a general one. Potatoes, good. I like potatoes. All right, so what are some qualities of potatoes?
They're good.
Well, yes, they are good. But what are some ways that you would describe different types of potatoes?
Starch.
So we have red potatoes for one. I'll get us started.
Purple.
We have purple potatoes. We have gold potatoes. We have russet potatoes.
Sweet potato.
Oh, yeah, we have sweet potatoes. We have baking potatoes. Yams, okay. So you see the idea?
Mhm.
We have a lot of different types. My recipe tells me which type I have to order. If I'm making mashed potatoes, which type am I going to use? Probably red or purple or russet. Not going to use gold, Yukon Gold. They're too like gluey, right? So it's not going to have that right consistency. If I'm making baked potatoes, am I going to get red potatoes if I want to do baked potatoes?
No.
No, right? So your recipe tells you what type of ingredient there is, but then also, are there any possible substitutions? Okay. Are there any appropriate substitutions? If I'm baking an apple pie, what kind of apples do I want to use?
Granny's.
Granny Smith, okay? Can I use a red delicious or a yellow delicious?
If you want to.
No, not for an apple pie. Okay, it doesn't have the crispness. They're too mushy, right? So you have to know what is an appropriate substitution, what you can or cannot use. If I'm making fajitas, does it matter what color the bell peppers are? If I'm just gonna fry them up with some onions and green bell peppers are cheaper than red bell peppers, whatever, right? Or if red bell peppers are cheaper than green because there's a surplus, I can change them out. And so knowing what that substitution is allows you to be more cost effective. Okay. So portion size. Whew, okay, I think we're good. Portion size can be managed by weight, volume, and size. So what types of ingredients, what types of things do we typically portion by weight? So I heard meat. What did you say, Juan? Fries, okay.
Poultry.
Okay, so meat, fries, so pretty much all proteins. Like it's a quarter-pound burger, or it's a half-pound burger, or it's a 16-ounce steak, or it's a 6-ounce steak. Okay, so typically proteins are done by weight. You might also look at sides. So if you've ever gone to a deli and they have like pasta salad or macaroni salad or potato salad in the little deli container, they put some scoops in there and they weigh it. They're basically selling it by weight. Okay. Now volume is how much area it takes up. So that's pretty much typically liquids. What types of liquids do we measure and serve? Milk, juice.
Sweet tea count or no?
Yes, sweet tea. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, shakes, liquor, beer, alcohol, beverages, pretty much. But with other kinds of things do we serve by volume? Other kind of liquid stuff.
Dipping.
Soup,
Condiments.
yeah. You get 2 ounces of ranch or 1 ounce of ranch for your salad or dressing. Okay. So all those things are things that you can measure by volume. Okay. The last one is count. What kinds of things do we measure by count? That we portion out by count? Stuffed mushrooms, okay, good. I'm gonna put appetizers. So that could be like stuffed mushrooms, shrimp for our shrimp cocktail. Okay. Yeah, desserts, right? That count, if I use the brownie example, that count was one brownie. The volume would be the scoop of ice cream. Okay. I could also use the count of one package of fudge, one package of caramel sauce. Okay. So yeah, we can use all different types. If we use the example of a salad, okay, by weight, I might do weight of the lettuce, the greens, okay. I may do count of a tomato slice, maybe 3 tomato slices. And then volume, oops, I didn't change colors. Volume, still not, I'll try one more time, third time's charm. I'd have my sauce, my salad dressing, 1 ounce is 2 ounces, whatever. So volume of dressing, weight of salad, count of tomatoes, and that's my standard recipe for a side salad. Okay? That's how we control our portion size. Because with that standardized recipe, it tells me how many portions I'm going to get out of that full portion. Okay? Out of that recipe. We've talked about this already, costing out recipes. We're going to get a little bit more into it in the project. We've talked about this information right here. However, one thing that we have not talked about a whole lot is how volume and weight are not always equal. What do I mean by that? Volume and weight are not always equal. Baking students, what do I mean by that? I'm going to tell Chef Telefoy. I'm just kidding.
Cup of flour is not equal to the weight of the flour.
Exactly. A cup of flour is volume, does not equal 8 ounces in weight of flour. Okay. So volume is cups, pints, quarts, gallons, tablespoon, teaspoon. Those are all volume measurements. Okay. If it's a dry ingredient like flour or salt, okay, what is the volume of a tablespoon? 1 tablespoon equals 0.5, which is half of a fluid ounce. Okay, the volume is 0.5, is half an ounce of fluid, but that teaspoon or tablespoon of salt does not weigh half an ounce. It weighs something different. Okay, so the volume is that, but the weight is different. So as we go through the project, you're gonna get lots of practice, don't worry. As we go through the project, if you see a volume measurement like this, your first question should be, is this ingredient dry or liquid? If it's liquid, then I can just go ahead and go, okay, 1 cup is equal to 8 ounces. 1 gallon of vinegar is 128 ounces. But 1 tablespoon of brown sugar does not weigh half an ounce. It weighs something different. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about volume and weight and how we do the conversions. I'm actually going to give you a calculator. I have a link online to a calculator that I found where you put the ingredient in, how much the volume is, and it tells you what the weight is. It's going to convert that for you. Okay. We're not going to worry about that. All right, this is what I want to talk about. This is your triangle on the back page of your notes page, okay? And this will be the last little bit on the notes page. So we have AP, EP, and we have yield percentage or edible yield. Okay? As purchased is what is delivered to our restaurant. What is delivered? Think about when you go to the grocery store and you purchase all that stuff, right? When you bring it home, that's what you purchased. The edible portion is what you actually get to eat after you've trimmed it, after you've cooked it, after maybe it's like you've done some kind of processing to it. Okay. The percentage yield, that percentage yield is basically the amount, the percentage of the product that's left over at the end. Okay. And guess what? We're going to use a triangle. Okay. Edible yield percentage is on the bottom. Yield percentage is on the bottom. Just like in our other triangle. Okay. Yield percentage is on the bottom. Now we have AP and EP left over. Which one goes where in the triangle?
AP's at the top.
AP goes where?
The top.
On the top or the bottom? Why the bottom? What is the formula for percentage? Percent equals part over the whole, right? The whole is our AP, what we purchased. The part is our edible portion, what's left over. Okay? So edible is up on top. The as purchased is on the bottom. Okay? So let's go through 3 examples of this. We're looking at bell peppers. I start with 10 pounds of bell peppers, okay? And maybe I'm going to roast those bell peppers. And so what happens to the skin? Peel that skin off, right? And then, do I use the seeds?
No.
No, toss those. Do I use the stem? No. But does that stem and seeds weigh something?
Yes.
So I paid for it by the weight, but I'm going to go ahead and take this. So what is my yield percentage? Cover that up. What's left over? 8.5 pounds. That's my edible portion. Divided by 10 pounds, my original portion as purchased, and my percentage is what? 0.85. Move that decimal over by 2. Remember, we're going to multiply by 10 or by 100, and we have 85%. So my bell peppers have an 85% yield factor. I'm going to lose 15% in the process, and I'm going to be able to eat 85% or serve 85%. Okay. So if I start with 25 pounds of bell peppers, how much can I expect to have after I've processed? What is my edible yield? 85%. So now I've got 2 numbers. I have edible yield and I have my AP, and I'm looking for my edible portion. So I cover that up just like the other triangle. And I have 25 pounds times 0.85. My as purchased times my yield percentage. Tanya, what did you get? 21.45?
25.
25, okay. So I can expect with 20, I ordered 25 pounds of bell peppers. I can expect that there'll be 21.5 pounds left over after I've processed everything. Okay. Now, just because I chop the top off and chop the bottom off, so I want to have nice little beautiful julienne bell peppers for my salad. Do I throw away the top and bottom?
No,
Why?
you can chop them up and use it for something else.
Chop it up, put it in a sauce, maybe make a roasted red pepper sauce. I'm going to blend it up anyway, so what difference does it make? That's going to extend the ingredients so that I can make it have a higher than 85% food cost or percentage of yield factor. All right, last one. 85% is my yield factor. Now I need to have 35 pounds of bell peppers to serve. That's my edible portion. So if I need to have 35 pounds, how much do I have to order? So if I'm looking for AP, I take my AP out and I have edible portion divided by yield percentage. So I divide this 35 pounds that I need. That's my EP. 35 pounds. Divide it by my 0.85.
It's gonna be 42.
41.17.
Yes.
Okay. So I may go ahead and order 42 pounds just so I have a little extra. Okay. Or I may order 41 and a half pounds. Okay. I don't want to order 41 pounds because then I'm going to be short. Okay. See how that works? So we're going to use that triangle to do the same thing, except now we're talking edible and as purchased. Okay. So now let's look at our standard portion cost. How are we doing on time? Do not have time for this. That's okay. All right. What I want you to do is get your brisket math assignment page out. The brisket math assignment page. That's what we're going to work on right now. Okay. Yes.
What were the answers to number 5?
What's the question for number 5?
In calculated transfers, you have to blank the amount from the original location and blank the amount to the new location.
So you have to subtract from the original location and add to the new location. Good question. All right. So on this brisket math, we're going to go through this relatively quickly because we have 15 minutes. No, we have 30 minutes left.
9:40, 9:30.
9:30, right?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. We'll go back to the PowerPoint for a second. I thought we had 15 minutes left. Okay. We have a little bit more time. We'll do this real quick, okay? So this is kind of bringing a lot of stuff, the costing out together. This is also bringing together the standard recipe, okay? So for our standard recipe, we have 2 eggs. 2 eggs, hash browns, 2 slices of toast, and 2 strips of bacon or sausage links. 1 second, I remembered something. Got that in my previous class. Okay. And we sell this for $6.75. For the record, I made this PowerPoint when I started teaching 10 years ago. Wow.
It worked.
Okay. We sell it for $6.75. I don't know where you're gonna get a two egg breakfast for $6.75 today. Okay. But here we go. This is where it's gonna shock you. This is our standard recipe. So we're gonna go line by line by line. Okay. Let's start with the eggs. We do as purchased to recipe. What is my recipe for eggs? How much do I need for my recipe?
2.
2 eggs, right? My as purchased is 30 dozen for $38. So $38 for 30 dozen. Do my units match?
No.
No. So I have to do what?
Convert.
I have to convert. Okay, which one am I going to change? The recipe side or the as purchased side? Can I convert 2 eggs into the equivalent of the dozen?
As
No.
purchased.
That's way too much work, right? So 30 dozen times 12 eggs is how many eggs? 3 times 12 is
360.
60.
so 360 eggs. Now my units match, eggs and eggs. Okay, now my units match. I'm gonna go ahead and divide $38 by 360 eggs. Let me get my calculator. Just so I can do the math along with y'all. 38 divided by 360. That's gonna give me 11 cents per egg. Okay. 11 cents per egg. I multiply that by my 2, and I get eggs are how much? 22 cents. We see how that works? These 2 eggs cost me 22 cents. 11 cents per egg times 2. Questions, comments, concerns about eggs? Let's talk hash browns. Okay. Hash browns. As purchased to recipe. A case of 50 count potatoes is $47. So $47 for 50 potatoes. Okay. $47 for 50 potatoes. What's my recipe?
Half.
We use
Half
half a
potato.
potato per portion. So my recipe is half a potato. Okay. Do my units match?
Yes.
Yeah. Potato and potato.
Mhm.
Okay. So now all I have to do is get the cost of 1 potato so I can figure out what my recipe cost is. $47 divided by 50 is 94 cents per potato. And I'm going to multiply that by 0.5, right? Because that's half of a potato. And I get 47 cents. So my potatoes is 47 cents. Okay. Let's go with our toast. As purchased to recipe. Where's our bread? A loaf of bread is 24 slices for $1.86. $1.86 for 24 slices. Excuse me. What is my recipe amount?
2.
2 slices of bread.
One for chapter 3.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
Ugh. Okay, so we have 2 slices. Do our units match? Yes. So $1.86 divided by 24.
8 cents.
How much?
8 cents.
8 cents. Okay. So 8 cents per slice. Oops. $0.08 per slice times 2 is
Makes sense.
16 cents. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here for a second because every plate comes with these 3 things. bread, eggs, and potatoes. The only difference is gonna be the sausage or the bacon, the protein. Okay? So add these up. 6 and 7 is 13. 85 cents is our total. Okay? So those three components represent 85 cents. Can I erase the first three ingredients? If you want to take a picture, you can. This also is being recorded, so you can always go back. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now let's talk about bacon and sausage. Bacon, AP to recipe. Bacon is 12 strips per pound, and it costs $3.85. Okay, so now if we do $3.85 per pound, and my recipe is 2 strips, do my units match? No, pound and strips, they don't match. But I've given you the equivalent. So this, bless you, this 1 pound is equal to 12 strips. Okay? So now what's 385 divided by 12?
0.32.
32.
0.32083 repeating.
Yes.
Yes.
That means we're gonna make it up to 33 cents per strip. And I need 2 of them. So my bacon plate
It's 66 cents.
is 66 cents plus 85. And what is my cost for my bacon plate? 66 cents plus 85 cents.
51.
151, $1.51. Okay, $1.51. Cool. Let's do sausage in a different color. Let's go green. All right, sausage is AP to recipe. Sausage is 285 for 20 links. Okay, our recipe is 2 links. So what is $2.85 divided by 20?
0.05.
0.05.
5. Yes.
Okay. So 5 cents per link.
15.
No, it's 15.
15.
15 cents.
0.15.
15, yes.
Yeah, 0.15. My bad.
Right. Thank you. So 15 cents per link. Times 2 is 30 cents. So sausage is 30 cents plus 85. That is equal to $1.15.
Yes.
Okay. So bacon cost me $1.51 to make. Sausage cost me $1.15 to make. We see where we're at?
Yes.
So if I'm
Yes.
pricing this, which recipe would I price my selling price on? Which one would I base my selling price on?
On the bacon.
Why bacon?
Because it tastes good.
Well, because it tastes good and it costs more. right? So every time I sell, if I'm selling it for $6.75, every time I sell a sausage plate, I'm making 36 more cents in profit. That's the difference between sausage and bacon. Okay. So this helps me determine. Now I could have one price for sausage, I could have one price for bacon, right? On my menu. But that's a lot of stuff to keep up with. So just charge one price. Whatever is the more expensive one, use that to base on your selling price. So that way, every time someone orders bacon, you know at least your costs are covered. But every time someone orders sausage,
You make a little
you're gonna
bit.
make a little bit extra profit. Okay. So now
Well,
let's talk about
for the bacon, it's $2.58. For the sausage, it'd be $1.37.
what are you talking about?
Well, if you add up all your equivalents and what you're spending versus what they're paying for the breakfast. So you take your it's what you're spending on making is $2.58. Except minus the labor.
No, it's $1.51. We just did that. The 85 cents is what the three components are that are the same between all both plates. So the 85 cents is the eggs, hash browns, and toast.
Yes.
And then the remainder of the $1.51 is going to be the cost of the bacon. I just erased the numbers.
Right. Which is 2.88. Something like that.
No, the total cost was $1.51.
The total cost $1.51.
Yeah. All right, we are right on schedule. So everybody go ahead and pull out your brisket math assignment. Okay. Now, on this brisket math assignment, I gave you a little bit of extra room between each number because what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the formula, the equation, and then we're going to do the numbers right below it. Okay. That way, when you go back to do your homework, you have the full equation and you can plug in the different numbers. Okay. So I want you to write exactly what I'm writing up here on the board. Okay. So my question is, how many portions are in a 12-pound brisket? So here we go. I've purchased brisket for $2.50 per pound. Okay. The yield factor is 55%. Think back when you did your cook loss test in basic food prep with the brisket, how much product you lost during that time. The serving size is 6 ounces, and I sell the brisket for $16.95. Okay. With just those 4 pieces of information, I'll be able to answer all of the questions. The first question is, how many portions are in a 12-pound brisket? So we want to take the brisket weight. And again, I want you to write this exactly like I have it up on the board. You're going to take your brisket weight and you're going to multiply it by the yield percentage. That will give you your edible portion in pounds. Okay. How do we convert from pounds to ounces? We're going to multiply by 16 ounces. That's going to give you your edible portion in ounces. Okay. And then we divide by our serving size. Okay. So I want yours to look just like this. And then right below it, I'm going to put the numbers in. Our brisket weight is 12 pounds. My yield factor is 0.55. So that is going to give me 6.6 pounds of edible portion. I start with 12 pounds. Multiply by 0.55, I get 6.6 pounds. Okay. but my serving size is in ounces. So I can't divide by 6 servings by 6 ounces, so my units don't match. So that's why I have to multiply by 16 ounces. And that gives me 105.6 ounces. Now my units match. Divide by 6 ounces. And I get 17.6 servings. Okay. Now you can decide on your homework when you get this problem. I want to say it's the chapter 3 quiz. Okay. You can decide whether you want to keep it at 17.6 or if you want to drop it down to 17. I've done the math for both. Okay. Can you round it up to 7? Can you round it up to 18? We can't create brisket out of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's got to be either 17 or 17.6. Okay. Whatever the decimal number. Whatever you decide to do, stick with it for the whole time. Okay. Stick with it for the whole time. How much money in sales should he expect to bring in? So now, again, we're going to go with just the formula. Okay. Super easy. Let me write it out. Number of servings times the selling price. Okay. Bless you. So if we get 17.6 servings, we multiply it by our $16.95. I should get $298.32. That should be my amount of sales after I've served all 17.6 servings. Is $298.32.
If you go with $17, it'll be $288.15.
Okay, perfect. It'll be a little bit less. Okay. On your homework, I've done the math for both, and I've given the range of answers. So that way, if you whatever you decide, it should count it correct. Okay. All right. Questions about this? A few more minutes to finish writing. Okay. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move on. And let me clear the screen. All right. So what is the portion cost of the 12-pound brisket? Okay. Now there's a long convoluted way that you can do this. But I'm going to show you the easy way. Okay. What is the portion cost for the brisket? You want to take the AP cost times the brisket weight okay. That's going to give you your total cost. Then you just simply divide by the number of servings. My total cost, I only get 17.6 servings out of it. Okay, so let's do that. How much is my as purchased cost? Was it $2.50 per pound? Times 12 pounds, which means this cost me $30 to buy this brisket. Okay. Think about when you go buy the brisket at HEB, it shows you it's $2.50 per pound. You're getting 12 pounds. The total cost is $30. Okay. Now I divide that by my 17.6 servings, or my 17 if I want to. And I get $1.08. and 71 cents. So it cost me $1.71 per serving. Okay. Number 4, food cost percentage. What are we going to use right here? We're looking for food cost percentage. What are we going to use? The triangle. Okay. We're going to use our triangle. Cost, percent, sales. Okay. What is our food cost? From number 3.
$1.71.
$1.71. Right? And how much do I sell it for? $16.95. So my $1.71 divided by $16.95 is 10.1%. That's my food cost percentage. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about 1, 2, 3, or 4? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Those kind of go together by themselves, and then 5 and 6 are gonna go by themselves as well. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I'm gonna clear my screen. We're gonna go back to the formulas. Okay. So I'm gonna do the number of guests times the serving size. That is equal to my edible portion in ounces. Edible portion in ounces. Okay. Now, I'm going to have you do this step right here, which is the yield percentage. Divide by the yield percentage. Do it at this step because otherwise you might forget to do it. Okay. Do it at this step. I'm going to show you when we do the calculations, I'll show you why. This is going to give you your edible portion, your as purchased. This is going to give you the amount to purchase, the as purchased in ounces. And then how do we go from ounces to pounds?
16 ounces.
I want to divide by 16 ounces, and that will give me my as purchased in pounds. Because my question is, how many total pounds of brisket do I need to order? Okay. So if I have 250 guests, I'm going to multiply. They're all having 6 ounces of brisket. 250 times 6 is 1,500 ounces. Okay. Now, if I divided by 16 right now, that's 93.75 pounds. Okay. But most students, when they see pounds, they think, I'm done. No more. But they have to use that yield factor. If I only order 93.75 pounds, when I go to cook that brisket, it's going to shrink down to 40 pounds. I'm not going to have enough. Okay. So that's why I have you divide by the yield factor right here so that you don't forget. 1,500 divided by 0.55 gives me 2,727.27 ounces. Now we don't call up Cisco and say, hey, I need 2,700 ounces of brisket. Okay. That's where we divide by 16 ounces. So divide that by 16 ounces, we get 170.45 pounds. That's how many pounds I need to purchase to feed 250 people. 6-ounce portions. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about this? Yes.
Where'd you get the 0.55?
That is from the yield factor at the very top. Okay, that's the yield percentage. Now, what is the total cost of the brisket? This one, we're going back to our notes. This is our as purchased cost times the pounds needed. That's not very difficult. Okay. So $2.50 per pound times 170.45 pounds. 250 times 170.45 gives me $426.13. That's how much money it cost me to purchase the brisket to feed 250 people. Okay. You might think, holy cow, $426, that's a lot of money. But if we multiply 250 times the $16.95 that I'm going to sell that for, that's $4,237. So that's the sales I should bring in for those 250 people. And of that $4,200, 426 is going to be the cost of just the brisket. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Number 7, basically is just gonna do increase by 10%. So we just basically increase by 10% like we did for chapter 2, okay? In my last minute, let me go to Canvas really quickly, because you guys have a lot of stuff that's due next week on Wednesday, okay? So in the modules, or actually that can be in assignments, here we go. You're going to have the, AP, edible portion yield percentage quiz. You're going to use that triangle that we talked about at the end on the back page of your notes, okay? That AP, edible portion and yield percentage quiz. You're also going to have the chapter 3 quiz. I don't know where that, oh, that's in your exams. You have your chapter 3 quiz. That's going to be due. I believe that's it. Let me just double check. Go to your home. Chapter 3, oh, and your chapter 2 quiz. So you have 3 quizzes that are due by the 12th next week on the 8th, by 8 a.m. Sorry, by 8 a.m. Questions, comments, concerns? I would recommend that you do some of those quizzes before the weekend. Okay. I have office hours on Friday. You can log in during Zoom and you can ask questions. Okay. I have office hours on Monday and Tuesday. But I would recommend that you get all that stuff done. Don't try to wait until Tuesday night when I'm not having office hours. Okay. Thank you all so much. Thank you all on Zoom. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, process it, and post it. Have a good night.